Out of the dream was to come the view of America which animated the independence movement in the English colonies, the concept of a society rid of the inequalities and evils of the Old World, a New World society providing opportunities for all according to the laws of nature and natives' God. Harold E. Davis. Welcome to the third episode of our series, The USA History on Speaking History Channel. The English and French, longtime rivals in many parts of the world, extended their conflict to the New World by the 18th century. The French controlled vast areas like the St. Lawrence Valley, Louisiana, and the Mississippi Valley, while the British held a long stretch along the Atlantic seaboard. Their ambitions clashed, especially over the fertile Ohio Valley, sparking a series of Anglo-French wars. These wars ultimately saw the British emerge victorious, driving the French out of much of North America. King William's War, 1689–1697. The first major conflict, King William's War, was rooted in European rivalries. When Protestant William III became King of England, his animosity towards Catholic Louis XIV of France spilled over into their colonies. The French, with Indian allies, launched brutal attacks on English settlements, burning towns and forcing surrenders. The English retaliated but with limited success. This war ended inconclusively with the Treaty of Ryswick in 1697, which restored conquered territories but left tensions unresolved. Queen Anne's War, 1702–1714. The next round of conflict, Queen Anne's War, was part of the War of Spanish Succession in Europe. The French controlled Newfoundland and the interior of North America, dominating the fur trade and fishing ports. Religious tensions, Protestant English versus Catholic French, added fuel to the fire. The British captured Port Royal in Acadia, but the French, with their Indian allies, inflicted severe damage on English settlements. The war ended with the Treaty of Utrecht in 1713, giving the English control of key territories, but peace was short-lived as new disputes arose. King George's War, 1744–1748. In the mid-18th century, King George's War broke out, merging with the War of Austrian Succession in Europe. The French had built a network of forts, claiming vast swathes of North America. The British, alarmed, launched an expedition and captured the French fortress of Louisbourg in 1745. However, the Treaty of Aix-la-Chapelle in 1748 restored Louisbourg to France, and the war ended with no significant territorial changes. These early wars were extensions of the global rivalry between England and France, setting the stage for the larger, more decisive conflicts that would follow. The 7 Years' War, a defining conflict. Introduction: the early skirmishes between England and France in the New World had largely ended in stalemates, leaving many issues unresolved. However, the 7 Years' War, fought from 1754 to 1763, finally tipped the scales. This war, which began in America 2 years before it erupted in Europe, marked the downfall of French power across the globe in Asia, Europe, and the Americas, cementing English dominance over the American continent. Causes of the war in America: the conflict is often referred to as the French and Indian War. The primary spark was a dispute over control of the Ohio Valley. The French, claiming the land based on discovery and fortifications, clashed with the English, who had their own claims through royal charters and alliances with the Iroquois Confederacy. Tensions escalated as both nations fortified the region, culminating in a series of confrontations that set the stage for a full-scale war. Key events: Washington's First Command. In 1754, a young George Washington led a small force to the Ohio Valley, where skirmishes with French forces marked the beginning of open hostilities. His defeat at Fort Necessity underscored the need for colonial unity against French aggression. Albany Congress, 1754. In response to the growing threat, representatives from several colonies met in Albany, New York. Led by Benjamin Franklin, they proposed a plan for a unified colonial government to coordinate defense efforts. Though the plan was never fully implemented, it laid the groundwork for future colonial cooperation. English advantages. Despite similarities between the English and French, both deeply religious, fiercely patriotic, and equally ambitious, the English held several key advantages. Settlement patterns: English settlers arrived with families, establishing permanent communities with strong ties to the land, while the French primarily sought wealth and conversion opportunities, resulting in less permanent settlements. Self-reliance: English colonies were more self-sufficient, managing their own trade and defense, while the French colonies remained dependent on support from France. Religious and ethnic diversity: English colonies were more diverse, accommodating various Christian sects and nationalities, compared to the more homogeneous and Catholic French colonies. Population: the population of English colonies outnumbered the French by a ratio of 20:1, giving them a significant manpower advantage. Indian alliances: while the French had strong ties with many Native American tribes, they failed to secure the loyalty of the powerful Iroquois, who sided with the British. The course of the war. Braddock's defeat. 1755. The British suffered a major setback when General Braddock's expedition to capture Fort Duquesne ended in disaster. His failure exposed the frontier to French and Indian attacks, but it also highlighted the emerging leadership of George Washington. French successes and British struggles. The French initially dominated, capturing key forts like Oswego and Fort William Henry. However, British resolve strengthened under William Pitt, who reorganized the war effort and targeted French forces globally. Turning the tide, in 1758, British forces began to reverse their fortunes. They captured Fort Duquesne, renaming it Fort Pitt, and secured major victories at Louisbourg and Fort Frontenac. These successes cut off French supply lines and crippled their hold on the Ohio Valley. The French defeat. The fall of Quebec. 1759. General Wolfe's daring assault on Quebec, despite heavy losses, ended in a decisive British victory. The fall of Montreal the following year sealed French defeat in North America. Treaty of Paris. 1763. The war officially ended with the Treaty of Paris, which ceded vast French territories to Britain, including Canada and the Ohio Valley, while Spain traded Florida for the return of Cuba and the Philippines. Significance. The 7 Years' War not only ended French influence in North America but also set the stage for the American Revolution. With the French threat eliminated, the colonies no longer felt dependent on British protection. The heavy taxes imposed by Britain to recoup war expenses fueled colonial resentment, ultimately leading to the quest for independence. Conclusion. The 7 Years' War was a turning point in American history. It reshaped the balance of power, paving the way for the rise of a new nation while highlighting the enduring challenges of colonial governance and independence. That's a wrap for today, friends. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next episode.